Today's lesson is Auroras, Magic in the Skies. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
And I am Roger, and it's in the middle of the winter now, so maybe it's a good time to head north or head south to see the auroras, or the northern lights and the southern lights, depending on where you go. A friend of mine recently went to visit her son in Australia, I think, or maybe it was New Zealand, and she was lucky. She got to actually see the southern lights, and she posted some pictures on Facebook, so that was pretty exciting there. But in any case here, we're talking about the auroras and where you can go see them, and we were talking about some places to go in the world that you might go if you're interested in seeing these things.
Exactly. First of all, get yourself to some of the more northern or southern regions of the world, above or below about 60 degrees north or south latitude, and try to be there in the middle of winter or fall or maybe early spring. September through March were the months that we read are the best ones to get the best show, and you will see all sorts of wonderful colors, and of course this is all caused by the sun. The sun releases these charged particles of energy. They reach the earth in the form of sunlight and heat and other things, but sometimes these charged particles interact with our atmosphere. Some of the gases in our atmosphere can cause these particles to react, and that leads to a wonderful light show. So today, now that we know a bit about the northern lights, what they are, where to see them, we are going to get specific for everyone. So let's find out all about some of the best places to go to see some of these auroras.
One of the best places to see the northern lights is Iceland. The island nation boasts various stunning natural sights far from any light pollution, including Jökulsárlón, a glacial lake in the southwest, and Havaravallur, a geothermal area in the Central Highlands. But if you only have time to visit Reykjavik, head to one of the capital's parks for a better chance of spotting some auroras.
大家好，第一部分介绍形容词 geothermal， 它的意思是地热的。例如 The area's geothermal springs are popular in winter. 该地区的地热泉在冬天很受欢迎。或者 The resort features a relaxing spa with geothermal pools fed by hot springs. 这个度假村有一个令人放松的水疗中心，里面有由温泉供应的地热池。接着看到这个名词 highland， 表示高地。例如 Sandy moved away from the city and built a cottage in the highlands. Sandy 搬离了城市，在高地建造了一座小屋。或是 The village is located in the highlands where the air is cooler. 这座村庄位于高地，空气较为凉爽。
All right, the first place we're going to talk about is Iceland. So one of the best places to see the northern lights is Iceland. Okay, that's that Scandinavian island, and lots of people like to go there. And I think they speak a really ancient language or something, and it's really hard for foreigners to learn. But I understand that the Icelandic people are pretty much all fluent in English, so communication should not be a problem. And yes, indeed, this is a great place to go if you want to see the northern lights. So yeah, talk to your travel agent and book your tickets now.
Absolutely. This is actually my wife and some friends went there. They were traveling around Europe, and I think they got one of those ridiculous European flights, like 50 pounds or something, from London to Iceland. And it was basically created just so people could go see the northern lights. So if you are in Europe, I think once you're in Europe, getting to Iceland from there isn't too hard. Finding a direct flight from Taipei to Iceland would probably be impossible or a big challenge, but going through one of the big European airports or countries would be no problem at all. So yeah, head over to Iceland. It says the island nation boasts various stunning natural sights far from any light pollution, including Jökulsárlón, a glacial lake in the southwest, and Havaravallur, a geothermal area in the Central Highlands. So that's great. A lot of different places to go in Iceland once you're there. Lots of these places will give you great views of the northern lights, and of course, it helps to spread the tourists out a little bit. So Jökulsárlón is the first place that we have. And of course, big apologies to anyone who is Icelandic, a native Iceland person out there. Our pronunciation of some of these names might be not entirely accurate. But this is a glacial lake in the southwest of the country, or in the southwestern area of the island. Glacial lake meaning it's a lake formed by the meltwaters of glaciers, those very large frozen rivers that we find kind of up in the mountains. We read a lot about how glaciers around the world are melting, and this, of course, worries scientists. It's a sign of global warming. But sometimes, of course, through their natural lives, these glaciers do melt, especially in the summer, warmer temperatures, and they create these lakes. Glacial lakes are very lovely, but do not, well, be very careful if you want to swim in them. They will also be extremely cold. And then you can also visit Havervalir. This is a geothermal area in the Central Highlands. And I know that geothermal tourism is actually something else that brings people to Iceland, isn't it?
It certainly is. That has to do with like hot springs and geysers and things like that.
The Blue Lagoon, is that the place
I've
that
heard of that
everyone
before.
goes
Yes,
to?
I've never been there myself. Maybe your wife went there when she
I
went.
think they did.
Yeah, probably did. But yes, indeed, if something's geothermal, it just means it has to do with heat coming from underground, like hot springs and things like that. An example of a geothermal area in the United States would be Yellowstone National Park. They've got geysers and hot pools and stuff like that there. And this is similar to the area in Iceland here. This is a geothermal area in the Central Highlands. I'm glad you said those words, Mike, because I don't think I could tackle them. A highland is just an area of land that is higher in elevation than the area surrounding it. We could talk about the Scottish Highlands, for example, elevated parts of Scotland where they play the bagpipes.
Yeah, not quite a mountain region, so we wouldn't say the Himalayas or something like that. But these are sort of the steppe hills before you get to the higher mountains, but definitely a good place for hiking and that kind of thing. I don't know about you, Roger, I like the idea of sitting in a warm hot spring while looking at the northern lights, right?
That would be cool.
You wouldn't have to bundle up like we talked about yesterday, wear your thick jacket and scarf and hat. You can just sit there and relax in this wonderful heated water while the sky above you goes crazy with this wonderful light show. But it says if you only have time to visit Reykjavik, the capital city of Iceland, where, of course, your airplane will land and things like that, head to one of the capital's parks for a better chance of spotting some auroras. So even if you want to see the auroras kind of on the cheap, if you're just there overnight for a business trip or something like that, don't worry. Find one of the local parks, go out to the middle of the park, away from as many lights as you can. You're still going to have a pretty good chance of spotting or seeing some of these auroras, especially at night in the winter time when, of course, the activity will be greater. So there you go. A bunch of good reasons to visit Iceland. I think another thing is that they love hot dogs.
They do.
Hot dog trucks are a big thing in Iceland. So actually now I'm going to change it. I want to sit in that hot spring spa, eat a hot dog while watching the Northern Lights.
Sounds pretty cool.
Sounds
it does sound
perfect.
like a great vacation. And if you're interested, maybe now's the time to go there because it is in January right now.
Yep.
We're at the end of January, actually, and you probably still have time to go there and check it out.
True, and it's much easier to get to than our next location, which we will find out in the second paragraph from our article.
Another great place to see the lights is Yellowknife, Canada, where the lovely spectacle is visible as many as 240 days a year. At a special viewing facility called Aurora Village, you can also experience aspects of the local indigenous culture in your own private teepee before stepping outside to gaze into the night sky.
第二部分看到名词 facility， 表示供特定用途的场所，也可以是设施或是设备的意思。可以说 The worker was rushed to a medical facility to treat her injuries. 那名工人被火速送到医疗机构治疗伤势。继续看到动词 gaze， 意思是凝视或是注视。例如 Felix spent the evening gazing at the stars. Felix 花了一个晚上在注视着星星。再看一个例子 Richard gazed at his children with pride. Richard 骄傲地凝望着他的孩子们。
Okay, so another place to go, a great place to go to see the lights is Yellowknife, Canada, where the lovely spectacle is visible as many as 240 days a year. So that gives you a good chance to see the northern lights if you go to Yellowknife in Canada. That would be in the Yukon Territory, right?
That's actually in the Northwest Territories,
Oh, no.
just to the east of the Yukon. But both of these areas are the far northern areas of Canada.
Okay, so that's a good place to go check it out. You could see the lights in this particular part of Canada. I suppose you have to fly to Vancouver, maybe rent a car and drive up there yourself.
Oh no, I don't. You think you'd want to fly? Winter, I don't think the roads would be open all the way north.
Oh, that makes sense. You could probably fly one of those little planes or
Yeah.
whatever. And in any case, if you go to Yellowknife in Canada, this is where you could see this lovely spectacle. And again, it's visible a lot of days during the year. So if something's a spectacle, it is really something great to see with your eyes. Okay, usually we do use the word spectacle when we talk about something really amazing that you see. Like if you go see a Broadway performance, it could be a great spectacle with all the lights and the dancing and the music and things like that. And in this particular case, this spectacle of the Northern Lights could be seen quite clearly from Yellowknife in Canada.
As many as 240 days a year, so maybe you would catch it in the late summer, early fall, or even into the late spring going into summer. But yes, you do have to get there. Of course, spectacle, that's where we get the adjective spectacular, right? If something is really wonderful and amazing and fantastic, it's spectacular. So where do you go in Yellowknife? Well, I'm pretty sure almost anywhere in the town would be good. This is a small town, so getting away from light pollution and the city lights probably wouldn't be too hard. But they've actually created something for tourists to make it even more interesting. It says, at a special viewing facility called Aurora Village, you can also experience aspects of the local indigenous culture in your own private teepee before stepping outside to gaze into the night sky. Wow, that sounds pretty fantastic. So they have this special viewing facility. A facility is basically something that has been built for a special purpose. We would talk about, an educational facility being like a school or a college. A medical facility could be a small clinic, it could be a medium hospital or a very large medical center. So we're talking about the space or the equipment that's necessary for doing certain things. Sporting facilities would include gyms and swimming pools and running tracks and things like that. So it basically is the infrastructure that you need to do certain activities. And this facility is for tourists. It's called Aurora Village. It's a facility both for viewing the auroras or the northern lights, but also a place to experience aspects of the local indigenous culture. So you can go there and during the sort of light display before, after, pretty much any time, I'm sure, when you visit, you can experience different aspects or different parts of the local culture. An aspect is, yes, basically a special part of something that requires other aspects, other different parts to make up a whole. So when we talk about the aspects of a good holiday, you might talk about having a nice place to stay, having interesting activities, finding some fun food to eat at different times. The aspects of your perfect holiday might be different from mine, but all the different parts that go into making up a really good holiday. It takes up many different aspects. So you'll learn a lot about how they live, how they eat, their history, their culture, their religion, their traditions. And we're talking about the indigenous culture of the area. When we think of indigenous people, we think of native people. Indian people, to use the term that you might find in America and Canada. We call them First Nations people, so native people, the Inuit in the north, and Indian tribes or native tribes in the south. And of course here we have Aboriginal culture, that's indigenous culture as well. People who have been here for thousands and thousands of years, long before many colonizers and settlers came in later on. And you get to sit or enjoy it in your own teepee before stepping outside to gaze into the night sky. I don't know if I've ever actually been inside a real teepee.
I don't even know if I've even seen one before. I think I've seen models or whatever, but of course that's a famous house for indigenous people. It is like a tent, basically. Yeah. It's conical in shape, and it's usually made from buffalo skin or bison skin or whatever, and you got this sticking out the top, and they build fires inside, and the smoke comes out the top. They're pretty cool, and that would be pretty cool to actually stay in your own private teepee that you don't have to share with other people. It's kind of like a teepee hotel, basically. And, of course, you can hang out in the teepee for a while, and then you can step outside to gaze into the night sky. So to gaze just means to look in in a general direction. You're not looking at a specific thing or in a specific direction. You're just kind of looking all over the place. You might gaze into the crowd to see if you can find your friend because you were supposed to meet there for the concert. And here you're gazing into the night sky. You're looking around to see if you can see the northern lights.
You're just kind of looking at things to enjoy looking at them, or maybe you've got your brain switched off. You could say Brian just sat there and gazed out the window while enjoying a coffee. Not really thinking, just enjoying the view in the same way you might gaze into your lover's eyes over dinner at Valentine's Day or something. You're enjoying the beautiful thing that you are seeing, in this case, the wonderful northern lights. All right, so from Yellowknife, Canada, just a quick trip over to the west. We're going to be heading to the northern part of America, of course, Alaska, in the final part of the article.
Almost 3,000 kilometers away, Fairbanks, Alaska, in the U.S., is also a popular choice thanks to its numerous activities tailored for aurora chasers. For example, you can view the lights in comfort while soaking in the Chena Hot Springs or from within a heated glass igloo. Fortunately, auroras are amazing wherever they're seen. So whether you visit Iceland, Yellowknife, or Fairbanks, they'll fill you with an awe you won't soon forget.
第三部分看到动词 soak， 它表示浸湿，让点点点湿透，也可以是液体渗入的意思。可以说 After work, Betty likes to soak in the tub and relax. 下班后 Betty 喜欢浸泡在浴缸里放松。也可以说 We got caught in the rain and were soaked to the skin. 我们被困在雨中而全身湿透了。最后看到 awe 这个单字，它是名词，指惊叹、惊奇，同时也可以是敬畏的意思。举例来说 James tried to describe the awe he felt the first time he saw the desert. James 试图描述他第一次看到沙漠时的惊叹。或者 Jane's performance was so impressive that the audience watched in awe. Jane 的表演太令人印象深刻，以至于观众们惊叹地看着。
Almost 3,000 kilometers away, Fairbanks, Alaska, in the U.S., is also a popular choice thanks to its numerous activities tailored for aurora chasers. Now, even though Alaska is right next to Canada, these are very huge countries, and so you have to travel quite far. You probably have to fly, but it's also a popular place to go if you want to see the northern lights. They've got numerous activities there which are tailored or designed specifically for people who are chasing auroras. If you're an aurora chaser, you're somebody who is traveling the world in order to see the aurora, the northern lights or the southern lights. We also have tornado chasers who want to go look at tornadoes. They probably go to Oklahoma or Kansas or places like that during the summer, and hopefully they can see a big tornado.
That's right. Storm chasers might, go to where the hurricanes or typhoons are happening around the Pacific or Atlantic. They really like to see these and witness these amazing natural phenomena on their own, with their own eyes. It says, for example, when you do make it over there to Fairbanks, Alaska, you can view the lights in comfort while soaking in the Chena Hot Springs or from within a heated glass igloo. I guess they must have heard my little note that sitting in a hot spring in Iceland would be a wonderful way, because you can also do this in Alaska. Imagine they're sitting and soaking in this wonderful hot spring bath while you're watching this wonderful light show. When you soak, basically you're in liquid and you're kind of sitting there and resting in it, and you're absorbing it possibly too. When we soak things, we might be trying to wash something that's especially dirty. So you might just put it in water with soap and just leave it there for a while and allow the water to get fully into that shirt or jacket or whatever you're trying to wash. And when we talk about taking a bath, if you're not actually in the bath, scrubbing your feet and your elbows and washing your body, you might just be sitting there going, so you're probably soaking in the bathtub, just sitting in this nice warm liquid, just enjoying it, enjoying the feeling of relaxation and the way your muscles just feel nice after soaking in the hot spring or in the bathtub. And of course, after a good soak, you get out and your fingers look all kind of dried up, because your body has been absorbing all of that nice water. And from the hot springs, you can see the beautiful northern lights. Or if you'd prefer to stay dry, how about a heated glass igloo? igloo. This is one of those very cool sort of snow houses or snow shelters that Inuit people, Eskimo people, northern Aboriginal people make. But this is a glass one and it's heated. So it's obviously a more permanent structure than something just made out of snow blocks. But it has a glass roof, you can see through it, and it's nice and warm. So again, comfort while witnessing nature's beauty. That sounds like a pretty good deal.
What a cool place to go. So here we wrap up the article by saying, fortunately, auroras are amazing wherever they're seen. So whether you visit Iceland, Yellowknife, or Fairbanks, or maybe even Siberia, or northern Sweden, or whatever, no matter where you go to see them, they'll fill you with an awe you won't soon forget. Here, awe, A-W-E, just means you're amazed at something. You really think it's great. You stand in awe of something. Maybe you think your favorite basketball player is awesome, the way he scored 40 points in one game. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分提到，冰岛有各种远离任何光害、令人叹为观止的自然景点，包括节骨沙龙和惠拉维德利。那课文句子是在节骨沙龙后方接了同位语 a glacial lake in the southwest 来补充说明它是位于西南部的冰河湖。然后课文也在惠拉维德利的后面接了同位语 a geothermal area in the central highlands 来补充说明它是位于中央高地的地热区。那这边我们就来介绍一下同位语的用法。同位语通常会摆在名词或名词片语的后面做补充说明。那同位语在句子里面记得要用逗号跟句子隔开，像是 She lives in Seoul, the capital of South Korea. 她住在首尔，那是南韩的首都。The capital of South Korea 这部分就是同位语，用来补充说明它前方的名词 Seoul 首尔。好，那其实同位语可以当作是非限定用法关系子句所简化而来的分词片语。像刚刚的例句本来可以写作 She lives in Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea. 那我们先把关系代名词 which 省略，然后把动词 is 改成现在分词 being 还可以省略，所以就变成 She lives in Seoul, the capital of South Korea. 回头来看课文句子里面的两个同位语，同样也可以用关系子句去表示，也就是 which is a glacial lake in the southwest, 还有 which is a geothermal area in the central highlands. 由于它们的功能都是补充说明，那记得就要用逗号跟句子隔开来哦。好，另外课文句子里面有用到 geothermal 来形容地热的，我们拆解一下它的字首字根。字首 GEO 可以指地球或土地，字根 THERMO 表示热的或温泉的， AL 是形容词字尾，那合在一起 geothermal 就是形容地热的。好，那我们也补充一下两个带有相同字首的单字。第一个是 geography， 它的字首 GEO 是指地球，字根 GRAPH 表示描绘，Y 是抽象名词字尾，那对地球的描绘应该很容易联想到 geography， 它表示地形啊、地理学。好，第二个补充的是 geometry， 它的字首 GEO 是指地球，字根 METR 表示测量，Y 是名词字尾，那同学们可以试着联想，测量地球上各种物体的形状、线条、角度等等的科学就是几何学，所以 geometry 这个名词就是几何学的意思。Geometric 是它的形容词，则表示几何图形的。好，以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Boast. Prague is a city that boasts a rich history and beautiful architecture. Facility. This training facility offers various programs for beginners. Aspect. One important aspect of learning a language is practicing every day. Indigenous. The indigenous people of this region have their own unique traditions. Gaze. As she sat by the window, June gazed out at the falling rain. Soak. You should leave those beans to soak in water for at least 4 hours before cooking them. Awe. The children watched in awe as the fireworks lit up the sky.
Discussion Starter starts now.
It's time now for our discussion starter, and here's the question. Which place mentioned in the article would you most like to visit to see some auroras, and why?
I'd be most excited to make a trip to Iceland, since Reykjavik is the place I'd most like to see some auroras. Having an aurora light show with a hot dog in my hand sounds perfect.
Okay, well, I would like to go to Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories there because, hey, it's got indigenous culture there that you can check out, and it's going to be really cold, and maybe the people there actually play hockey. Maybe I could take in a game.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.